From a dumpy little office in West Covina, California, it's the Foos Show! Hey, what is up, everybody? I am Josie.
And I'm Josh.
And we have a very special guest today. Very special guest. His name is Mr. James Paul Ganzer. Better yet known as Jimmy Ganzer of The Fallen Electric. One of my best friends.
JPG.
Yeah, what's up, man?
How you doing, man?
Doing well. Thanks for coming down, dude. We appreciate you coming.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah. It's going to be a good time.
Very nice.
So I'm glad that you were able to pencil this into your busy schedule. We've been trying to get you on for weeks, son.
And now I'm here.
And now we're doing this.
So I'm very excited
with his presence.
Right.
So Jimmy is the lead singer and guitarist for my band, The Fallen Electric, and you can catch us at thefallenelectric.com. By the way, anybody out there, I forgot to do my whole damn thing. Thank you all for listening into the Foo Bar Show, and thank you for subscribing and telling a friend like a fucking champion. You can always catch us at Foo Bar Show. That's FOOBarshow@gmail.com, and FOOBar Show as our handle on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Check us out, drop us a line, and we'll foo it up like a couple of foos. Ain't that right, Josh?
Foo?
That's right. All right. So, what's up, man? What's new?
Oh, just doing it. You're looking at it.
Doing it.
Fucking looking at it.
You're looking at it.
Chill, man.
So we figured this would be, keeping the segments kind of to a minimum today.
Right.
Yeah.
This would be just a fun episode with Jimmy where we can just talk a little shit, talk a little TFE history, that kind of thing. So we'll just get right into it.
Only a little shit, man, because I had a lot loaded up. But okay.
Oh, well,
I'll hold back.
Shit in moderation.
Oh, okay.
Shit in moderation for sure.
No gratuitous. I just had a cheeseburger, man. I got plenty loaded up.
Oh, man. Well, not with that. All right. Let's just do this. God damn it. I'm scared now.
It's gonna be bad.
It's gonna be so bad. All right. So, fuck. Whoops. So, Jimmy, where'd you grow up? How did you come to be? Where were you conceived? However back you want to go.
Oh man.
All
the way from the get-go, huh?
Do you know how you were conceived?
Well, I was born and raised here in California, and I was born in Pomona.
All right.
I've been a whole Southern Cali boy all my life, and it's been a cool ride. Lived in Arizona for a year and a half, and
shit.
yeah.
How long ago was that?
That was when I was about I want to say about 12 years old. 12 going on 13 years old. I was there, and I ended up we ended up moving out there with family, and trying out that whole scene, because a lot of my family's out there, and because being in California, this is all we know.
Yeah.
So we tried it out there. A lot of my dad's brothers and all my uncles are out there and everything like that. So we tried it out for a little while, but we just ended up coming back to California. And
I mean, it's you can't beat California. But don't move here, people.
Yeah. State's full.
State's full.
Yeah, it's over.
No vacancies. Sorry.
I hate fucking freeway traffic, dude.
Oh, dude,
it's terrible.
Oh, dude.
And nobody's doing a damn thing about it.
No.
Maybe Elon with tunneling through, but that's not even done yet.
No.
So I can't even.
It's just getting worse too.
Yeah, it's a lot of fucking people.
Yeah.
So moved here from Arizona, and Arizona. How hot was it in Arizona?
It actually was the part that didn't get as hot. We actually got snow.
You got snow.
We got snow. Shit. We were in a town called Prescott, and over there in that area, and that's where a lot all my grandparents are from, and it actually is the colder part of Arizona, where Phoenix is more of the hot part, where it actually feels like here.
Yeah.
So I think that's where a lot of people get more confused, and a lot of that sort of thing. There's parts in Arizona where it actually gets snow and cold, like down to 8 degrees cold.
Oh shit!
And that's kind of where we were. So we would have our summers. Wasn't probably as hot as this.
Yeah.
As Cali is, but it would get hot, and then in the winter we would get a winter, and we We got it all.
So you had all the seasons there.
We had all the seasons.
We don't get that.
Yeah,
here.
we just get a little bit of raindrops.
Yeah,
and it's
we have summer and December.
Right.
We get rain again.
Pretty much.
That's usually how that goes.
It's hot all the way till October. And,
yeah,
pretty much.
So,
well, shit. That's nice. How'd you enjoy the snow? Did you like frolic?
That was
frolic the fuck out of that snow.
As a kid, it was pretty interesting because being as a kid, I've only we've gone to the mountains. My dad would take us to the mountains, and that's all we really knew. Especially living here, we would just know Mount Baldy. So we would end up going up there, enjoying the snow up there just for like the 4 or 5 hours we were up there, and then we come back and then down to civilization. Well, anyways, this is living in it, so it's like, okay, now I'm experiencing a snow day.
Yeah.
And I can't go to school today.
Oh, so they would announce those snow days.
They would announce those snow days where it was like, okay, school is canceled today because they would call it in, and we would get the call, and it would be too much snow to even for the bus to even pick us up. So it was pretty intense, yeah.
I think the only thing I've ever experienced like that here was when the fires were going on in the Glendora Hills right there.
Right.
And the high schools called like the morning of, and we're just like, school is canceled today due to poor air quality.
Right.
Not only that, but you're getting all these ashes that were coming out of the fucking sky.
Yeah, so
it was like you're snowing in them.
Yeah.
You can make like a dust angel.
Dude, it was bad. It was bad. And like where I lived, I mean, you guys have been to where my house is in Covina, in Charter Oak area. It's like right by the hills. So yeah, it was crazy.
That's crazy.
That's the only time I've ever experienced an ash day.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
And we usually get fires around here during the fall, summer into fall. So I think we're going to be experiencing a lot of that right now. Yosemite's on fire, or has been.
Yeah,
it's fucking brutal, dude.
Oh yeah.
So
and this heat isn't helping.
Oh, dude, it's been one of the hottest summers and
it just started.
Yeah, it's fucking nuts.
Yeah,
dude.
it's gonna get worse, guys.
It's just getting worse. We're not even in. We're barely going to be in August here, and this is like,
yeah, it's just gonna get worse.
Yeah.
Well, shit. All right. So you moved to California.
Yeah.
And then you go to Pomona.
Yes.
Right. So at age what do you start enjoying rock and roll music, or has that already been going down?
Oh, man.
I know your dad was really into it and got you into it.
Right.
How did that relationship with your father kind of progress into that musical love that you developed over the years?
Oh man, see, being growing up with that whole scene, and just whatever he listened to was pretty magical to me. It was just and practically all I knew. I just knew to put on his records that he had. I didn't have any CDs at the time. I was a little kid, so all I knew was
back then we had cassettes.
We had cassettes. He still had his cassette player, and he had his record player all in one. And it was so cool because you had the option for both, and he would have this stack of cassettes right over here, and then his album collection over here. He had more albums at the time because my parents were hippies, so it was just that whole thing, dude. And it was cool. And so he had everything from Deep Purple to the Who to Aerosmith, all the way.
Tracks.
Oh, dude, it was you name it, it was there. To Kiss to Alice Cooper. To everything. So all I knew was to put on this, when he actually showed me how to work the record player with the needle, and that's all I knew how to do. And and knowing the sound that was coming out of that is how I knew how music's supposed to sound.
Yeah.
And
you get your highs and your lows.
Yeah.
Everything's kind of blended in nicely.
And keep in mind,
it's not compressed like it is these days.
Keep in mind, I'm 5-6 years old at the time, barely knowing how to work this thing.
Yeah, just being totally influenced by these bands. That's
and I'm at 6-7 years old, I'm listening to the Beach Boys, Pet Sounds, and and all their you name the records,
Right.
So my dad had at least 3 or 4 of them, and to me, that's what music was supposed to sound like.
Right.
So I wasn't really, I was grown up on that sort of
influence. Okay. All right. Right on.
Until I actually got into, my, later years, and I started to, experiencing, Limp Bizkit, and, when I got
when
to
the 2000s hit.
When the 2000s hit, I started
the new metal. And
I started getting into new metal, and then my first,
Mm-hmm.
a couple of my first cassettes I actually had a cassette Walkman.
Oh shit! Wow.
Yeah, I actually
Kicking it old school there.
Yeah, I had a cassette Walkman, and it was before I could actually afford a CD player at the time because it was just cheaper.
I had the CD shockproof Walkman.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, in case I ever decided to go jogging,
that one I couldn't afford.
I can strap that to my forearm and be on my way.
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny because we come from different backgrounds but yet we kind of ended up in the same place. Me and you. I come from a family that was. If it was music, it was Mexican, and it was aggressively Mexican.
Right.
Like gente.
It was.
You got your mariachi, you got your norteña, banda. The difference for those who don't know the difference of those three kinds of mariachi is the mariachi that we all know. The ones that you hear at your local taco shop. Yeah. Norteña is the one that the accordion drives that boat. And you have you got two note Sanchez on the bass. And then banda is when there's a motherfucker that's manning the what would be the kick drum, but it's a bass drum, bass drum. There's a motherfucker on a snare just manning that snare. And maybe some toms, maybe like a quad around that.
Oh,
but then you still got the big tuba, the big fucking sousaphone.
Right.
That's that. So if you can imagine, my dad, and this is what I liked about that kind of music, though, the banda music, is that it's all instrumental. There's no vocalist to that. There can be these days. There's a lot of that. But my dad had cassettes and rows of cassettes of that banda music. But it was all instrumental. Right. So I wasn't getting influenced in a way in lyrically. I was just listening to the music. Later on, I picked up the clarinet, the flute, the saxophone, and I'm like, these are the same motherfucking instruments that these guys are playing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I'm like, I'm not gonna say that I tried playing that kind of music, but I would play like the rock and roll that I'd be hearing on on the radio or on TV with those instruments. But I think if it wasn't for that, I don't know that I'd had the appreciation for for that classical type of kind of music where like orchestral, like a lot of people with a lot of instruments getting together to blast your fucking house.
Exactly.
On a quinceañera. So that, I mean, just to kind of give you a sense where I'm coming from, I'm coming from like fucking another country.
Yeah.
But being an only child, I was heavily influenced by other kinds of avenues and other family members. I had a lot of cousins that were listening to a lot of hip hop. You know, you got your Tupac and Biggie that were still alive back when I was about 3 or 4 years old.
And
so they're pumping that.
To me, which is the real stuff. That's real hip hop. That's where it all started.
Yeah.
You know, and
that was the sweet spot for sure.
It was
the '90s were the sweet spot for hip hop, man.
Yeah, then it just went downhill after that.
Things got interesting. That's for
it's
sure.
Slowly picked up, but
there's a few gems here and there, man. Like the other day, you were telling us about Logic. And
Logic, man, he's got some good shit. Kendrick, obviously.
Eminem, to a certain extent, was doing his thing, and
nothing new. Eminem, I would say, anything post.
But 90s,
2009,
90s, early 2000s was when he was at his peak.
Yeah,
that Marshall Mathers LP I had was
that was amazing.
Just a self-title like
best.
that. Oh man,
that was the best.
Had that on cassette.
Yeah,
that's when I first started getting into hip hop, and it was amazing. I never heard anything like that.
So in having my cousins play those like hip hop tracks from back in the late 80s, early 90s, I started figuring out that some of the samplings that were done for those songs were old funk or rock songs.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm like,
twist together.
I'm like, oh, you mean they're taking something from another band so that they can sing over it?
Right.
Well, let me just go check out this other band that made this hip hop song be popular. So then that's kind of how it took that route.
Which is
and then
awesome.
when I started growing up and I was like in middle school, my cousins started picking up guitars. I'm like, I want a fucking guitar.
Right.
So like when you were like coming of age, like where were you at like in your early teens? Were you already playing guitar by then?
I was honestly, I haven't really picked up a guitar until I actually started about high school. I want to say I got my first Squier at the time.
Yeah, me too. I'm freshman year.
Yeah, it was a white Squier, kind of like your Fender that you play currently, but it was obviously the cheapie, and it sounded good.
One.
Yeah, the beginner, but I didn't know any better, so it sounded good, and I had a small amp, And keep in mind, I didn't have any gain on it. I didn't have any distortion.
Oh, okay. So it's just
gain is what makes everything sound really growly and really. Well,
yeah,
you know,
totally.
just so you guys know. Well, anyways, so I didn't have any of that on the amp. This little amp I had.